Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Melissa, and I teach 5th grade at a school called Corrales International. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the U.S. Census, and specifically about a really important word called diversity. So let's start with what the U.S. Census is. The U.S. Census is a count of all the people in a country, and it's carried out every 10 years. We're going to be counted in 2020, so make sure to fill out that U.S. Census if you get it in the mail or if you do it electronically. So I said that the word diversity is a really important word. It is. Diversity basically means different. We have so many different people in the United States. But how does this exactly connect to the U.S. Census? Well, it's related because we will be discussing 3 items: race, language, and education in different states. We found this information because people were counted. So the reason we were able to find out and calculate it is through the U.S. Census. And that's why it's so important to fill it out. So let's talk about race. Race means there are so many different types of races in the United States. Race refers to a person's physical characteristics like skin or facial features or attributes. Language. We speak so many different languages in the United States. In fact, did you know that your state, our home state of New Mexico, has 2 official state languages? That's right, they're both English and Spanish. Lastly, we'll be discussing people's level of education. Now, we'll be looking at how many people have at least something called a bachelor's degree, which is a university degree of at least 4 years. Many people get many different types of degrees. Some are 2 years, some are less than 2 years, some are 4 years, and some are even more than that. Okay, let's look at some information. This information is called data. Data is information in the form of numbers. Let's look at some data from our home state of New Mexico and 3 other states. They're going to be South Dakota, Texas, and New Jersey. Let's start with New Mexico. So when I say the word row, that means information that is horizontal. When I say the word column, that means information that is vertical. So in this row, we have information about American Indian and or Alaskan Natives and how many people are in these states are from this race. From this row, we'll be talking about people that speak a language other than English at home, right here in these 4 states. And in this last row, we'll be talking about people that have a bachelor's degree or more. So let's look at New Mexico. Right here in this color red, we have 10.9%, almost 11% of people are American Indian and or Alaskan Native from Native American tribes. 34.8, almost 35% of people speak another language other than English at home. For example, my native language is Spanish, so I do speak it at home, especially when my mom's in town. And 27.1% of people, so 27% of people in New Mexico have a degree of 4 years, which again means that they went to college for at least 4 years. Now, let's look at South Dakota, which is this column right here. So in South Dakota, 8.7 people, almost 9% of their population, are American Indian and or Alaskan Native. 6.4% speak English, another language other than English at home, and 27.8% have at least a 4-year degree. Let's look at one more state. Let's choose Texas because it's right next to us. So only 0.5% are American Indian and Alaskan Native. A big percent, they beat us in speaking another language other than English at home, 35.6, almost by 1 full percent. And they have 38% of people, at least 38.1, that have a bachelor's degree or higher. So now let's answer some questions related to this data. Now, which of the states, remember this is the same data that was represented in the slide before, Which of the states in the table has the highest percentage of American Indians and or Alaskan Natives? So what we're going to do this, we're going to look at this row right here, boys and girls, and we're going to look at all these numbers and compare and contrast them. New Mexico has 10.9, South Dakota 8.7, Texas 0.5, New Jersey 0.2. What's the biggest number? Looks like New Mexico. Next one. Which of the states in the table has the highest percentage of people who speak a language other than English at home? So again, we'll be looking at this row. New Mexico, 34.8, South Dakota, 6.4, Texas, 35.6, New Jersey, 31.8. Looks like Texas barely beats New Mexico with 35.6, just like we said before. Which of the states in the table has the highest percentage of people who have a bachelor's degree or higher? So we'll be looking at this last row right here. We have New Mexico with 27.1, South Dakota with 27.8, Texas with 38.1, and New Jersey with 28.7. Looks like Texas, again, with 38.1 has a degree, people in their population with a bachelor's degree or higher. So, comparing and contrasting, this is one of my favorite things to teach my 5th graders. When we're going to compare and contrast some of that information. Compare means to talk about things that are the same. So, I brought an apple and an orange. So when I compare them, that means that I'm going to talk about the same things that they have. So they're both fruits. Contrast means that we'll be talking about how things are different. So obviously, an apple and an orange are both fruits, but when I contrast them, I'm talking about how they are different. Well, this one is red, this one is orange, this one is an apple, this is also an orange. Now, maybe you've seen something like this before in your classroom. When I compare and contrast information, I like to use a diagram, and it's called a Venn diagram. It's a type of graphic organizer. So we're going to put information that we'll compare and contrast about 2 things. Just like I compared and contrasted this apple and orange, we're going to compare and contrast New Mexico and South Dakota. NM for New Mexico, SD for South Dakota. So when we compare, it's the same, and you put that information in the middle. When we contrast, it's different, and you put that information on the sides. So let's start with comparing. How are both South Dakota and New Mexico the same? About the same amount of people have a bachelor's degree, and I'm getting that information right here. So New Mexico is 27.1. South Dakota is 27.8. They have 27% just about of people that have a degree of 4 years or higher. Now, let's talk about how they're different. New Mexico has more people that speak another language other than English. We have here that New Mexicans speak 34.8%, while South Dakota only has 6.4 people. Let's talk about something else that's different. In South Dakota, there are less American Indian or Alaskan Natives. So New Mexico has 10.9, almost 11, while South Dakota has 8.7. They're close, but they're still a little bit different. Now, something else I like to teach my 5th graders is transitions. Transitions are words that help us. They're helping words to help us see when we compare and when we contrast. When we compare, I like to use these words in green. Likewise, also, while, in the same way, likewise, like as, similarly, and same. When I contrast, I like to use these words: but, still, although, different, on the other hand, however, yet, otherwise, and even though. It's good to just use one per sentence. So here again are our comparing and our contrasting. We can also write sentences that show similarities by using some of these sentence starters. So let's see if we can compare. So, New Mexico and South Dakota are similar because both of them have a bachelor's degree or higher. Now let's contrast. New Mexico and South Dakota are different because New Mexico has more people that speak English as a second language. So in summary, we learned what diversity means. We learned about race, language, and education. Finally, we learned so much about comparing and contrasting, our special helping words called transitions, and how to make sentences using them. Don't forget to get counted in the 2020 US Census. I'm Miss Melissa, and thank you for joining us today for At Home with APS. Bye.